Real stories with bold creatives. CAPTN OffScript Podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the CAPTN OffScript. My today's guest is a designer, an author who's been in this industry for quite a long time, and he is really successful in what he does. He published a couple of really important books for graphic designers on how to actually approach their work and how to do the actual work and make their work paid and well designed. Today, I'm joined from Ireland by David Airey. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's great to be with you, and yeah, thanks for inviting me.
It's totally my pleasure. I mean, I was doing a research on who to invite, and I told myself, okay, I have to do this. This is, like one of the pillars of graphic design and logo and branding in more than a couple of years, but yeah, so it's definitely my pleasure. But let's start with something maybe more fun than work. And if your friends and family would have to describe you with 3 words, which ones would that be?
Good question. I would like to think that they would say I am thoughtful, respectful, empathetic, but whether or not they would is another question.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you? Tell me what would your answer to that be?
My answer. Oh wow, you're the first one. So 3 words. Wow. I've never actually thought about it. I've asked my guests the same question, and I've never thought about it. 3 words.
Yeah, you put me on the spot, so now it's your turn.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would say detailed, very detailed. I hope they would say I'm funny. I'm a fun person to be around with. And dedicated, I think. I would say, yeah, dedicated, of course. No, it's not easy, when you actually have to come up with 3 words. Not easy at all.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I like that question.
Yeah, dedicated, definitely. I would probably put that one on the top.
Dedicated to your job and your partner, and well, you have a husband, right? You live in Madrid with a husband.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
And do you have any other family nearby?
Not nearby, not in Spain. We moved to Spain in 2018, so we are here only the 2 of us from the family. But we have family back home in Bosnia and also in Germany. So yeah, we travel a lot and they come here quite often. So it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate that you're living somewhere that's so nice to visit. Madrid's a beautiful city.
Have you been to Madrid?
Yes, I was there quite some time ago. I had the idea before I was designing full time that I would travel the world teaching English. And I was learning how to teach English in Madrid. And so I wasn't there for very long. It was only a couple of months. But I got to see quite a bit of it. And yeah, it's beautiful. The architecture.
It's beautiful, right?
The food, the weather.
Yeah.
Although it gets pretty hot in the summer.
And everything. And the climate is really great here.
Yeah, as I sit, it's just after 11 a.m. here on Wednesday, and it's raining outside. I'm in Bangor, which is just outside Belfast in Northern Ireland, and it's good to get some heat abroad. Sometimes, we had a nice summer, but it's not always that nice in the summer here.
Yeah. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm not moving to Ireland, because I'm like, I totally cannot get over the rain and cloudy weather, and yeah,
you get used to it, especially when it's all you're growing up. It's a different thing, and I love it here. I have my parents live across town, And
Oh, that's
I live
nice.
in my house with my wife and my two kids, my children, Scarlett and Isaac. They're 11 and 8 at the minute. And my brother and sister are nearby too. And my only surviving grandparent is here too. Yeah, and I have aunts and uncles. So family is one of the big reasons why, despite living in Scotland for 10 years, I moved to Scotland when I was
Yes.
when I was
Yes.
19. Yeah, I came back just mainly because of family plans. My wife and I were thinking about having kids, and neither of us had any family in Scotland, or in Edinburgh,
Okay.
where we were. So yeah, we came back here, and yeah, it's been great. Things are going really well.
That's nice. That's nice. It's good. It's good to have family around. Yeah. Especially
Yeah,
when
you
you
must
have
miss that.
kids, so that someone can help around. And
Yeah, do you get to see your family often? Do you go back to Bosnia? Is that where you're from,
yeah,
Bosnia?
yes, that's correct. Well, mostly they come here, from Bosnia, and my mom lives in Germany, so we go there quite often. Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
we visit each other quite a lot, and they were here. My husband's sister and her son, they were here like 2 months ago. We went to the beach as well for a couple of days, and yeah, it's always he's 8 as well as your kid, you said. So
Uh-huh.
it's those years when it's quite funny to be around them.
Yeah, from the ages of about 3 to 8, 9. Well, that's not a great thing to say for my daughter, because she's fun to be around too, even though she's
Okay.
older than that. But yeah, there's a funny range where they come out with the strangest things, and you
Yes,
wonder, where did you get
absolutely.
that from? How did you pick up
Yeah.
that? But they absorb everything, and yeah, it really changed my life when kids came along.
Okay.
And I don't spend as long working as I did before kids, um, which has its upsides and downsides. I wouldn't go back to not being a dad, but
Okay.
before children, I would look forward more to the work side of my life, and I would kind of I remember seeing sleep as a distraction.
Oh,
I would just
really?
want to be designing more.
Oh,
So
wow.
I would work late, and I would think, right, I need to sleep now, uh, and then I would get back to it in the morning. But things are more balanced now. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Okay. And do you miss working more?
The only way that I would say I miss working more is because we're all surrounded by the accomplishments of other people, other designers around the world, and we see how good they are, and we inevitably compare our work to theirs. And I think I could be doing more. I could be producing better work, but at the same time, I need to step back, and it's much healthier to compare your work to your previous projects rather than somebody else whose circumstances are completely different and you don't truly know what's going
Absolutely
on in
true.
another person's life. So no, I don't. But
No?
at the same time, there's that little thing in the back of my head where I'm always thinking I could be doing more, especially, as I'm sure you know, when you work for yourself,
Yes.
it's hard
There's
to switch
always
off.
stuff to do, and yeah.
There's
That's
always
true.
something. Yeah, it's quite different from being in employment. That's one of the things I miss. I wasn't in employment for very long at the start of my
Yes.
design career,
It was at the
but that's
beginning
one of
of
the
your
things that I
career,
miss.
right?
Pardon? What did you say?
It was at the beginning of your career when you were employed.
Yes. I was living in Edinburgh at the time, and just after I finished at university, I took on the first job that I could, which was telesales for the Scotsman, which is Scotland's national newspaper. So,
Okay.
and while I was there, I bumped into one of my old kind of classmates off the course, and she, when we were chatting, she told me about an opening at a cancer charity because one of her friends worked there, and they were looking for somebody who could handle their print and web promotions, their website and their print marketing. And yeah, she put me in touch with her, and I went for an interview and got the job. And I was there. The company was called Myloma UK, and I was there for no more than 18 months. After that time, I approached the boss and I told him that I wanted to go traveling for a while. So I handed in my notice, and I took off, for a spell of traveling because I hadn't seen much of the world. And that I really enjoyed that time. That was brilliant. I got a train from London to Beijing, which took 8 days. And then I made my way across Asia, south through China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, ended up in Singapore. And then when I came back to Edinburgh, I realized that my position there hadn't been filled. So I asked them if they would be my first client, and they agreed. So for 3 days a week, they were my only client at the start. And I spent the rest of the time kind of building out my website and writing blog posts and trying to attract new business. And after I would say a year or perhaps 18 months, then they needed to hire someone full time. They needed somebody who could do more than 3 days, and I didn't want to go back to that. So that ended. But by that stage, I had a number of clients, although the turnover's quite regular with the work that I do. So I was never quite sure where the next project was coming from. So it was a little stressful in that way, but my overheads were low, and yeah, I made it work.
That's good. And
you're a type designer, is that right?
Yes, I'm a type designer for the last, I designed type for the last 7-8 years. Before that, I also worked in graphic design, logo design. I had my own agency. At one point, there were up to 15 employees, and it was quite hectic for me.
Sure.
As an introvert who has a problem with speaking with people, it was a bit too much for me. So now I am a one-man band, as they say. Always with my husband around, giving advices and everything, because he understands the industry and design and everything. But I'm on my own now, doing just type and the podcast. Yeah, that's all for now. Yeah.
And how did you get started with the agency? Did you want to hire so many people?
I studied civil engineering, and which has completely no connection to design or whatever. But at one point, I had a friend that needed a website, and I said, well, maybe I can, look around and see what I can do for you, because I was reading some blogs and, getting myself familiar with technology and everything. And I did that first website in Flash back when it was still alive. And it turned out great. Then a bit later, I did a couple of other websites for some friends, and then it kind of started rolling. One of them says to another one, "Oh, you have this guy. He did me a website," and suddenly, before I even knew, I was like employing people and doing all the possible things in an agency that you do. So yeah, it wasn't really planned, but I'm glad that it turned that way, that I'm actually not in the civil engineering anymore. I didn't even finish my studies. It took me quite a long time to actually quit that, but yeah, I'm here right now. And yeah, agency was a good first step. I had no experience with how the design thing work, how the agencies normally work, how do you approach clients. I had to learn it all by myself, which was at the same time really good for the future, because you have that knowledge, but also quite stressful, as you said, at the moment. You never know when the next client will come, and then you devote your time to that. And so yeah, but now as a type designer, I wanted to ask you the same question, but I'm actually quite satisfied with how I've managed to turn things around and create a work where sometimes I don't have to work even an hour a day, and the income will still be there. And maybe I can work tomorrow for 10 hours. I don't know. But it's quite a flexible lifestyle. And I've seen recently, like one of my previous guests, Liz Mosley, she published a video like a day in the life of a designer. And then she got like a lot of bad comments, a lot of negative comments on the reel. Like, well, you don't even work. That's not a life in the work, a day in a life of a designer. You work like 3 hours. And then she said, well, that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. I've been building this lifestyle for myself. And I would say the same for me, and you also said that you are quite flexible and you don't have to work that much. You don't have to stress around like 10 hours a day. You can spend time with your family. So are you proud of that as well?
I hesitate to say proud because I find it difficult to imagine being proud at myself, if that makes sense. But I am pleased because it's been a conscious decision that I want to slow down a bit more and be more selective in the clients that I take on, and also spend more time with my family. And not only that, also just spend more time by myself, whether that's reading or exercising or watching a film. Yeah, I'm very contented in the situation that I'm in now. I do work hard, but I don't take on so much work that it affects what I do for my clients. I don't want to take on any more than 2 or a maximum of 3 clients at once. And they'll often, well, pretty much always, they'll be staggered. So I won't start 3 projects at the same time. There'll inevitably be those downtimes when I'm waiting on client feedback. The ball's in their court, so I can then work on another project. So at the minute, I have one client who is in the south of Ireland, and it's rare whenever I work with anyone in Ireland. Actually, most of my clients come from overseas, so it was a nice change to be able to invite him to my garden room here, my office, and sit and talk about print samples that he had made up for some packaging. And I'm also working with I have 2 publishers, and I'm working with my first publisher on the 3rd edition of my first book. Okay. And then later this month, I will start with a new client in Singapore. Today's the 5th of November, so I've told her that I can be in on the 26th. So yeah, things run smoothly, and I love what I do. I've loved what I do for the past 20 years. It's 20 years this year that I've been self-employed. And while there'll be those days whenever things don't go quite right, and some projects, maybe 1 out of 10 goes in a way that I know I could have made it better, whether that's just the way I talk to a client or the way I handle feedback, that type of thing. Yeah, things are great, and yeah, I've no complaints at all.
That's what matters. Yeah, I guess. I wanted to ask a bit earlier when you mentioned that you went traveling. How did that change you, and did it change you, your perspectives, your ideas about work, how work should be done?
It changed me in the way that it broadens your horizons. I think the more you see and the more you know as a designer, then you can apply that to the work that you do. Different perspectives, different ways of life, because growing up in Northern Ireland, it can be quite insular. Yes, I had a couple of holidays in my teenage years when me and 8 or 10 friends would go off to Mallorca or Tenerife,
Yeah.
a typical lads holiday. So it wasn't until I moved to Scotland to study that I got a better appreciation of living on my own and of relationships with other people, making new friends, and part of my my 3 years on the university course in Edinburgh was an internship. One student on the course was eligible for a travel bursary, which there were only 2 of us that applied for it, me and another girl. And because of the background work that I put in, contacting companies in the States, asking if they would have me as an intern, and I got the bursary. So I went and I lived in just outside Pittsburgh in a small town called Sewickley, where at the time the organization was called the Graphic Arts Technical Foundation, and they've since merged with the Printing Industries of America. But I had a brilliant time there, learning more about graphic arts and printing and marketing and sales, and then the travels across Asia and that was, I saw levels of poverty that I hadn't seen before, particularly in Cambodia. So it was a bit of an eye opener, and just made me appreciate a lot more what I have and the life into which I was born. With 2 parents who were in a stable relationship, who still are, and they showed me love, and I had a roof over my head. There was always food on the table. I didn't have to worry about the things that so many people do. So it gave me a greater appreciation of just being grateful for where I was born and the people that I was around. What about yourself in Bosnia? How was it growing up there?
I grew up during the war in the Balkans. Yeah, it was, well, I was born in 86, so I had a couple of years where I grew up as a normal child, anywhere else, as you said, without worrying about the regular kid stuff. But then 91st came and things got a bit, tough. And I mean, I had no idea of what's going on. I was like 5, 6 years old. But in 1993, we had to leave the house because our part of the country was completely in war. And then I was an immigrant in my own country for 7, 8 years. Then we came back to the small town and close to the capital, where it's, I would say that anyone who grows up and manages to survive and went through all of that, learns quite a lot and grows up a lot faster than the kids who didn't have that kind of a childhood. So yeah, I grew up in Bosnia during the war, but later, it has its own consequences on mental health and everything. But I would say that I was a happy kid, even though everything, when you are a kid, you don't really understand that much what's going on around you, and you become understanding those things a bit later on in life. But yeah, I would say I was living in a part later on that was not that much hit by a war. And yeah, I had kind of a relatively normal childhood when I would go to school without actually thinking about if there will be some bombs or whatever, around, even though in some very close parts there were mines and everything. But you don't think about that when you are 10, 11. You just think about, I don't know, school and how to play around with other kids. But later on in life, you actually figure out what actually happened to you. And it's not the funniest story, but it is what it is, and I believe that actually made me see things a bit different right now with all these conflicts that are happening in the world. And I would say I'm quite happy to live in Spain and live in a country that actually has more or less, I would say, normal views on the politics and on the things that are happening around the world in Middle East and in Africa as well. And I'm glad to be here where I'm actually surrounded by like-minded people, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, things change you in a ways that you don't really expect them to, and in a ways but I am glad to be where I am today with almost 40 years now. And yeah, I'm doing what I love. I'm blessed to be here and to have my husband for more than 20 years. We met as well right after high school. So yeah, it's good. It's good life now, I would say.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that 20 years. You were
Thank
married
you.
pretty young then?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we started dating right after around 18. We got married in Denmark. We got married around 11 years ago. So we are together for more than 20 and married for 11. It's quite a journey, I would say.
Yeah. I'm kind of similar with my wife. We met when I was 25. I'm 46 now, and we got married. We got divorced. We got back together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Life brings these ups and downs. The children were young, and it was difficult for both of us. Neither of us was in another relationship then after we'd separated for a couple of years, and we got back together and things haven't been better. So
that's
ups and
really
downs,
great.
but yeah, things are working out very nicely.
Yeah, that's really good.
Interesting what you said there about life growing up in Bosnia during the war, because as a child, I didn't really appreciate what was going on during the troubles here in Northern Ireland. In Bangor, there were a few bombs, there were explosions in town. Nobody I knew was injured, and there were a lot of explosions in Belfast, obviously, and the Oma bombing was one of the largest.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a child, you get on with it. Well, I guess no matter what age you are, you have to get on with it. But it affects you in different ways, and like you said, you don't truly know in what way it does affect you until it could be years later.
Yeah.
So you just got to take it
quite
day
a
by
lot
day.
years later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, Ireland had its history of those things so as well. So you can get the point from where I'm coming on that part, that actually it comes to affect you a bit later. And when you're a kid, you don't really understand what's going on. And especially I was 6. I just finished the first year in school, in elementary school. I had no idea like what's happening. Why are we moving? Like, what's the reason? And then, things happen. And then I guess sometimes when you're after the puberty, I guess you start thinking more seriously about life, and then you figure out what actually happened and what people went through. So yeah, it's not one of the best things that could happen to anyone, but it makes you the person you are today. And I wish it didn't happen, but nothing I can do. And yeah, just take the positive things when you can, and that's it. And try to be a more compassionate person, and when you see what's happening around the world, not just closing your eyes and pretending like nothing's happening and that everything's okay.
Yes, that's a great outlook to have. Life can be tough. You've got to just enjoy those small moments where you can, whether it's having a hot shower or listening to the birds or listening to, I listen to my children laugh together. They play together. They have play fights and the tickles.
Okay.
Just thinking about how my son is so easily tickled.
Okay.
It's a joy, just to hear them laugh. It brings me
I can imagine.
a lot of enjoyment.
I don't have kids, but I can imagine. I have this small nephew, and no, that's good. I mean, life is good now, I assume, for you as well, and you said it yourself that you are satisfied with where you are, and that's a really good thing. It's not, I don't think it's something that common in today's world, even in the Western countries, so that's quite an accomplishment.
And I wonder how much of that is by design when you think about how much we're affected by the devices we use and social media, and how the algorithms push these messages continually, mostly negative messages about what happens around the world. It's hard to escape, and it can be good just to shut off for a while. Like last week was the half-term break for my kids, the Halloween half-term break. So schools were closed for a week, and the four of us drove south. I drove us south for 3 hours to Centre Parks. It's a kind of a leisure development. There's a few of them around the UK where there's zip lining over lakes and water slides, and we hired bikes. It's a 400-acre region in the centre of Ireland, woodland, and there are about, it surprised me when I was there that there are about 900 lodges. So we stayed in a lodge, a 3-bedroom lodge for a few nights, and we hired bikes and cycled around. The roads around all the lodges are closed off to traffic. You can unpack your car and then leave your car in the car park and then stop off at the cycle centre, and we picked up bikes. And I don't have a bike here at my house. The kids do, and my wife, Catherine, does. But we'd never been cycling, the four of us together. So that was one of the highlights for me. And even all the bikes had lights. So we were cycling around at night and just on the roads, hardly anybody about. And we turned a corner and one of my kids, oh, look. And there were 2 deer just stopped in the middle of the road. And the four of us just all stopped and we were watching them. For a minute, and they were just standing looking around, and then the 2 of them just leapt off into the forest. That was a great memory. So we had our phones with us, but just switching off from work and the internet and swimming and having fun and cycling, and just it was a good time.
It's good to switch off. I do I try not to watch TV for quite some time now, because it's actually quite, it can be quite depressing. I said before that we shouldn't close our eyes and pretend everything's good in the world, but also to be able to keep ourselves even a bit healthy and sane and aware of everything. I don't watch the news. I read the newspapers very rarely. So I try to take that time, as you said, to enjoy time with my husband, with friends, to go out, just not just disconnecting. And as you said, social media can be so into the face right now, with everything, with pushing even the negative messages or just pushing too many well-designed things, and you don't want to look at things that are better than yours. So it's good to disconnect, I would say. So that's really great, and I can only imagine all the memories you made on that journey. So that's quite amazing.
Yeah. We've no plans at the minute. No plans made for other holidays. But when it comes to next summer, we'll do something nice together as a family. We'll go abroad somewhere. The past 2 or 3 summers, we all went off as a family to Spain, to Mallorca and to Menorca. I love the Balearics, and it's not too far. It's a 3-hour flight, so it's not too bad with the kids. And Catherine and I purposely didn't catch a flight anywhere with the children while they were particularly young, just because we thought that it would be more like just looking after children, but elsewhere rather than a proper holiday. But the kids are at an age now where they can look after themselves, and for the most part. And if we're in a hotel, they can go off and get some ice cream for themselves and play in the pool, while Catherine and I can relax in the sun and read a book. So we'll do something again next summer. And meanwhile, the next thing is just the Christmas holidays when the kids are off for 2 weeks. And and we'll continue. I guess we'll continue the Santa lie, which I don't really like doing. But Isaac still believes in Santa. Scarlett doesn't. But it's never really sat that well with me, telling them that someone exists when they don't. And then are they going to experience a sense of grieving when they finally, when they figure out, oh, there is no Santa? And you told me he was real. Or what else have you lied about? But there's a social pressure on you to do that. It's trying to block out these social pressures and just raise your children in the way that you want to. But it's so hard. It can be so hard.
With being exposed to everything, and as you said, social media, and then all other media, and it's quite hard, I would say, like, to raise them the way you want.
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job. We try our best, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. I mean, in everything, you can just do your best, and even at work, do your best, and what happens after, it's, client might not be satisfied, but you did your best, and I'd say that's what we have to do in everything we do. So well, I have to stop here.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Don't let me interrupt.
No, it's okay. I just want to thank you for being this calm. I've talked to various people, and no one was this calm, and it actually makes me so comfortable. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah,
you're very welcome. Yeah,
it's
good to meet you.
No one was this calm and relaxed, and so thank you for that. But you wanted to ask something.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask you about your type design work. Do you have clients at the minute? Where does your work come from?
Well, I basically don't take client projects I didn't take any client projects for like past 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years at least. I have my own website where I actually sell the typefaces. So it's kind of what they call like what's the word? Well, it doesn't matter. I just do what I like. I'm so happy about that part, that I don't have anyone who's telling me this is good, this is not good, or that someone's nephew or sister or is commenting on the work I did and asking for changes. So that's what I've tried to build for myself. We all
know that feeling.
Yeah.
As a designer.
Passive income. Everyone has an opinion these days, and sometimes it's not really a valid opinion that we should listen. So I mean, I loved working with clients because you meet different people and different cultures and everything. And I was recently talking to Christy from New Zealand, and I was really surprised how the best clients I ever had were from Australia and New Zealand. Like, they're totally, I mean, it's true that they are quite, isolated in the planet, if you
Geography.
look at it that way, but they're, I would say, totally different, and they approach things differently than clients I had from the USA or Latin America or even the UK. They're just kind of way more calm. They let you do the things, and at least that's my experience. So yeah, right now I have a website where I sell my typefaces, and I also do that through a couple of marketplaces. So yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, it's what they call a passive income, but it's not passive. You work all the time,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. People used to, I remember hearing that about selling books as well. I have the books that people buy, but at the same time, somebody needs to market them. A publisher
yeah,
can help, but there's only so much a publisher will do because they have so many other authors that they're dealing with and so many other
that's
books to
true.
promote. And it seems to, in my opinion, it seems to be the next one, on to the next one and the next one. And what marketplaces would you say are the most profitable for you, where you sell your typefaces?
Well, I started initially only with Creative Market, which is a really good one. I actually had a conversation with their CEO last 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, for the podcast as well. And they are, even though they had some bad seasons, I would say, they are going back to the design thing. And Monotype is always a good player with my fonts, but as everyone has these reserves and towards big players like Adobe and Monotype. So yeah, I mean, for now, I would say my fonts and Creative Market are the best for starters and for font designers. Later on, I believe it's just doing your own marketing and doing your own promotion on your own website, and that's my main source of income at the moment, and I'm quite satisfied. It's I've dreaded building a website for myself because I also do web development. I did everything basically of the last 15, 20 years. And I did so many things to now that when I actually wanted to do my own website, I was working on it for like a year and a half. And oh my God, it was just too much for me. So for the podcast website, I took a team. I took a template and I just edited it to have it my own voice in there, but I didn't do it like everything from the beginning. So that was a way easier. Yeah. And you
Yeah,
said
it's not easy designing for
no,
yourself, is
no.
it?
When you're working on your own brand, everything can be always a tiny bit better. You always have something to change, something to add. So I think that's the worst part of, working for yourself and actually working on the branding and everything for yourself, for your company. Do you have the same experience or?
I definitely do. Yeah, my portfolio is never finished, and
Never.
I purposely keep it as minimal in appearance as possible in order to make it less jarring. Every time I look at it, well, not every time I look at it, I'm relatively pleased with how it looks at the minute. I I tend to think of things that I could improve when I do visit it, and so that might be a reason why I haven't added any projects for a while. I've got
Oh,
10 or 20 client projects that I could put on there that are more up to date than the ones that I'm showing.
okay.
But the ones that I do show, they're proven successful in letting clients trust me enough in order
Yeah,
to
that's what
pay
matters.
me thousands before we even speak. Sometimes, sometimes it's just a few emails back and forth, and then they'll agree to whatever proposal that I've sent them. I always prefer it whenever I can speak. Well, face to face, in person is the ideal, but obviously with most of my clients being overseas, it's video calls and the occasional phone call, and a lot of emails. But there's one client recently that it was solely conducted over email. That was her preference. I would always say in early discussions via email, if you'd rather talk than type, schedule a call here, and I'll paste my cal.com link so they can just book a video call really easily. But some people prefer just emails, and if it works, it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has their own preference, I guess. So yeah. People have different approaches to things, and if you can respect, that's amazing. So yeah, if it can work, that's really good. And are you already working on a new book, or?
Well, my focus at the minute is the third edition of Logo Design Love. That was my first book. The first edition was in 2009. It was published. So in 2008 is when I started it. The second edition was published in 2014. So it's been more than 10 years. And the sales, it still sells. Occasionally on Amazon's branding and logo design category, I'll see the second edition up there, in the top 10. Not very often, but enough people are buying it for me to think, well, that is reflective of me and the service that I can do people. So when my publisher came to me and said, they gave me a choice, they were either going to lower the quality of the paper in the next print run, or the rights could revert to me, the publishing rights, and then I could either self-publish or maybe pitch it to another publisher. And then I asked, well, what about I could update it? Is that an option? And they said yes. So we negotiated a new contract. And earlier this year, then I set to work. They told me that, and I think this is standard for most publishers, with any new edition of a book, the publisher would expect about 25% of it to change. And I'm expecting about 40 to 50% of the content to change, because it's not just adding a section and taking something out. I'm going through all the text and every project that I've included, and I think that I'm definitely elevating the work that's in there, because about half the work in the second edition is mine, and half is contributions from other designers that I asked if they would come on board, other designers around the world. And I've taken out some of the other contributors' projects and added new ones, and I've updated pretty much all of my projects from in there, and I've edited all the text. But the text then still goes to a copy editor that the publisher hires for me, and she's doing a brilliant job, and just tightening things up and suggesting rewording sections and saying this doesn't quite make sense, can you add something here? And I'm about 80% of the way through, maybe a bit more, because I've got until the end of this month to deliver the final 25% of the book. And the first 75% has been edited, and I'm doing the design work too. So I type it up and set the images in InDesign, and then I print a PDF. I send that to the editor. The PDF will get marked up, come back to me. I'll make those changes. I'll send it again, and then they'll say, okay, sign off on this. So they've signed off on 75%. I need to get this last bit done. I'll email the PDF for the last bit, and then they'll come back with changes. And I just noticed yesterday, actually, that it's listed on Amazon now available for pre-order, but I don't think it's going to be available until March, I guess, because, well, it'll be end of December when it's probably sent to print. And wherever it's being printed, I'm not quite sure. and it'll take a while to get those first copies shipped back and that first box to delivered to my door, which is always it's always great getting
To see
getting something physical, because
yes,
it's rare when I can hold something that I do, because most of my clients are abroad, so
yeah,
any
yeah.
print work goes on over there. And part of my terms and conditions says that you, as in the client, agree to send me any print work as a result of what I do, so that I can photograph it for self-promotion.
Okay.
But that might have happened once or twice in 20 years.
Really?
so holding the book is great, and thumbing through the pages and sharing copies with a couple of family members, and
Yeah.
giving some away to subscribers to my newsletter. I always enjoy that part of it.
That's super cool. So you would say spring next year?
Yeah, it seems to be March. That was on amazon.co.uk or amazon.com. I can't remember which one I was looking at.
Okay.
So I'll get a few copies back, and I'll send one of those to Katie Cowan. Are you familiar with this Creative Boom, creativeboom.com, that
Yes.
website?
Yes.
Yeah, she asked if she invited me onto her podcast next year, and I was hoping to send her a copy of the book before that,
Oh,
because
okay.
that was kind of one of the reasons why she invited me on, was because of this
Yeah.
third edition. And she started up a lovely community, like a kind of a forum-based community for designers around the world to join. And I think she's got more than 5,000 people signed up there. And it was
Wow.
it's just a nice way to interact with people rather than social media, people who you can't meet
Probably
in person.
way better, yeah.
Yeah, Ian Paget of Logo Geek, he had one going for a while, and that was fun to be a part of too, because he would have these group video sessions where people would come on board, and Katie did that as well with the Creative Boom one that I joined. And yeah, I met a few new people on video chat and just talked about work and the ups and downs and general chat. Yeah, it's a nice way to do it.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, I know that she did it, but I wasn't a member, so I have to check it out now. Like, to join,
Yeah, it's
and
worthwhile.
yeah, I'll check it out. I also, a couple of other designers that are doing similar things, I would say. James Bernard, you're probably familiar. Yeah, he has his own community as well, like
He
kind of a
charges for that. Is
forum.
that right?
What?
I think does he charge for that? Do you need to pay for
Yes,
access to it?
yes, that's correct.
The studio, it was the Creative Boom one. It's completely free.
It's completely free. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, well, so I am part of his, and it's really, really interesting, as you said, to talk to people and like designers without actually bombing you with their perfect designs on social media, to actually talk. And so that's quite good. And yeah, I will definitely check the studio from Creative Boom. That's a great recommendation for today, I guess.
Yeah, James seems to be doing brilliantly. I see his videos popping up quite a lot, and he's obviously an accomplished speaker now with Adobe. So yeah, much respect.
Yeah, he did quite a lot, and yeah, I had him for the opening episode. It was kind of a roundtable on the current state of design, so he was one of the guests, and we will be doing another solo episode later in the season. So yeah, I mean, he did a really good job in making his way through all of it and doing it so quickly. But back to you. It's honestly, your books have been what you did with Logo Design Love and Identity Designs. I would say it's quite fundamental for every designer to read, or to go through them at least. And if they are as detailed and as calm as you are, they should be like on every shelf.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, that's my. If you can just see that, that's my latest one there from last year.
Yes.
And I made a fundamental mistake when I wrote my third book. It was called Identity Designed, and the subtitle was The Definitive Guide to Visual Branding. Little did I know that I would then come out with another one.
Yeah.
So I've got this definitive guide, and then I've got
And then you have another
another
book.
one after
Yeah.
that. But they are very different books. The third one was a series of interviews that I conducted with 16 design studios around the world, focusing on one project of theirs, and then asking them fairly asking them questions that went in depth about their process. So the book is really about these studios, whereas my latest one, Identity Design: The Process, is more about my process, and then bringing on board other studios to either complement the way that I work or to show people another way of doing things, because there's never just one way.
Yeah.
We're all kind of making it up, and we all have our own preferences. We call things differently, even though they're similar. We do things differently, even though they have a relationship to one another. So the new one, it has much more of my work in it, and in a similar way, this third edition of Logo Design Love is going to focus solely on the logo.
Okay.
Whereas Identity Designed is more about the broader identity, the broader aspects of the visuals that companies use to promote themselves with. The logo is a big part of that, but it's only one voice in the conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the kind words.
No, it's absolutely like the most calm conversation I've ever had in years, and it's really it gives me another perspective, so that's really good, and it's opening my eyes to actually how things can be done as well. So thank you for that. And
well, I owe you a compliment there, because you tee it up in a way that's very free-flowing, conversational. You don't say, I want to talk about this and that and that. Just have a chat, have a coffee if you want. Just get to know each other, because people deal with people. So if we can both express ourselves in the way that we're most comfortable with, then that can help us build relationships with other people in the way that, if they have a similar outlook, or if they just want to know more, or if they think that we can help them in any way, then you've got to be yourself. And respect to you for putting the platform there.
Thank you so much. I mean, I wanted to do it like in that way, that there's no questions. We don't really talk too much about work all the time. And of course, if someone has, as you do with Katie, like for the new book, that's great. But just getting to know people, and maybe going a bit further than their work, because their work stands, your work stands. And I didn't really even had to announce you at the beginning, because everyone will know who David Airey is, and your work is there, and they've seen it at least. Maybe they don't know your story, they don't know what university you went to, but they do know your work. So that stands, and I believe it's kind of more interesting, especially today, to become more social, even though we are in the time of social media. But I would say that we are very far from being connected with other people. So yeah, that was my idea behind the podcast.
A great idea too. And I would go a step further with social media to say that in many respects, it makes us more disconnected, because
absolutely
we're in a room on our own, looking at a device, thinking that, okay, I've said hello to this person, or I've left a comment on this thread. I am being social. Whereas when you step back, it's really not.
It's not. Absolutely not. Yeah. Well, before I say thank you, because I've took a lot of your time today, the question I also ask most of my guests is, if they could only give one advice to other people, no matter if it's work or life related, what would be the one advice you would give?
Do what you enjoy, and find if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, put a plan in place to change that. There'll be something in your life that gives you enjoyment. It doesn't need to be revolving around the work that you're doing at the minute. If you're stuck in a job that you don't enjoy, then find a way out of it. Take small steps. It might only be half an hour a day, but that soon adds up. And if you can increase the amount that you're doing each day where you're finding that enjoyment, then over time, you'll soon find that your days are much brighter. And when you have that enjoyment in what you do, then you can help others find a similar sense of peace in their lives, because life is tough and it can be very short and we don't know how long we've got. And if you think too far ahead, you've just got to focus on the small things. If you can enjoy something a little bit one day, and if you can double that or add a fraction of that the next day, then find what you enjoy and don't look too far ahead. People worry about AI and how it might implement their jobs or how it might affect their livelihoods. And yes, that's a valid concern for so many people, for designers too. But as long as you can do some work that you enjoy now, and the person on the other end is seeing the value in that, and they're paying you in a way that you feel like you've earned it and it's good compensation, then that's brilliant. And you've just completed a great project, and then on to the next one. But if you're thinking a year or 2 or 3 or 10 ahead, it's too far, because things change fast. So find the enjoyment in what you do and just make the most of the small things.
Thank you for that one. It's a really good one, and I love it. I love that. Thank you, David. And thank you for joining me today. It was really, really a pleasure to talk to you. And I definitely hope that we will repeat this for maybe the next season or when the next book comes. Yeah, I had a really great time. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Alan. Thanks again for inviting me. And it was really nice chatting with you.
Thank you. And bye-bye, everyone.
Real stories with bold creatives. Captain OffScript Podcast.